Beloved, the moment you surrender your life to the dictates of others, you give away the greatest gift you possess, your own power. You were born with the divine right to walk your path, to speak your truth, and to live in freedom. Yet so many wander through life as shadows of others' expectations, carrying the heavy burden of approval, judgment, and control that is not theirs to carry. Hear this: no man, no society, no circumstance can truly command your soul unless you give your consent. Every fear, every doubt, every hesitation is a silent invitation to be ruled from the outside. But the moment you take responsibility for your own life, you awaken a force within you that cannot be stopped. You recognize that your thoughts shape your reality, your words create your world, and your actions manifest your destiny. When you live for yourself, you honor the divine within. You step into your own authority and claim the joy, success, and peace that have always been your birthright. You cease to be a victim of circumstances and begin to be the master of your own life. You realize that others' criticisms are merely reflections of their own limitations, and their control only exists if you allow it. Every time you choose to follow your own guidance rather than bow to another's will, you are aligning with the infinite intelligence of the universe. You are saying, I am the ruler of my own life. I am the captain of my soul. And in that declaration, doors open, miracles appear, and abundance flows because you are no longer channeling your energy to feed the expectations of others, but to manifest your own highest good. Remember, there is no greater tragedy than a life spent living by another's script. There is no deeper joy than the freedom of being fully yourself. Live for yourself, speak your truth, act on your own convictions, and watch how the universe conspires to bring you exactly what you need. Stand firm, dear soul, and do not hand over your power. You are not meant to be ruled. You are meant to shine. Live for yourself, and nothing in the world can ever diminish your radiance. Taking full responsibility for your life is the first and most essential step toward freedom and true fulfillment. Many people drift through life as if they are passengers on a ship, letting the winds of circumstance, the currents of other people's opinions, and the storms of chance dictate their direction. Yet the truth is that each of us holds within ourselves the helm of our own destiny. The moment you accept this responsibility, you step into the power that has always been yours, a power that cannot be borrowed, stolen, or given by another. You awaken to the knowledge that your thoughts, your words, and your actions are the instruments by which your world is shaped. It is a divine law, immutable and constant, that whatever you impress upon your mind with faith and clarity manifests in your outer experience. When you recognize this, you realize that you are not merely a passive observer of life, but an active creator, and this realization transforms every aspect of your existence. Many stumble through life believing that circumstances, other people, or external forces are to blame for their unhappiness, their failures, or their limitations. Yet this is an illusion, a convenient fiction that excuses inaction and keeps the soul in bondage. When you point your finger at the world, at the people around you, at your upbringing or your environment, you are surrendering the very power that defines your life. Responsibility is not a burden, it is a recognition of the divine within you. When you accept it, you claim the role of master over your own destiny. Every challenge, every seeming misfortune, every limitation becomes an opportunity to exercise this power. You learn to observe your thoughts, to control your speech, and to direct your actions in alignment with the highest good, understanding that nothing outside of you has the power to dictate your inner state unless you allow it. Taking responsibility begins in the mind. Your thoughts are the architects of your life, shaping not only the circumstances you encounter, but also the feelings, desires, and opportunities that flow to you. If you think in terms of lack, limitation, and fear, you will inevitably attract experiences that reflect those same qualities. If you complain about what you do not have, if you blame others or murmur about injustice, you are affirming those very conditions in your life. Conversely, when you take responsibility for your thoughts, when you discipline your mind to focus on what is true, good, and constructive, you lay the foundation for a life of abundance, peace, and fulfillment. Your mind becomes a workshop, your thoughts the tools, and your life the masterpiece. Words carry immense creative power, Every word you speak is a declaration to the universe, a signal that sets forces in motion to bring about corresponding experiences. To take responsibility is to watch your words carefully, to speak with clarity, faith, and purpose. When you say, "I can, I will, and I am capable," you are not merely expressing a hope. You are commanding the universe to align circumstances with your intention. When you complain, criticize, or affirm weakness and limitation, you are likewise commanding outcomes that reflect those beliefs. To live responsibly is to realize that your tongue is a wand, and every utterance is a spell that molds your reality. It is not enough to wish for a better life while allowing careless words to scatter seeds of fear, doubt, and limitation. Thought and speech must work together in harmony to bring about the life you desire. Action is the final, indispensable component of taking responsibility. The mind and speech set the blueprint, but action erects the structure. Every choice you make, every step you take, every effort you exert is an expression of your acceptance of responsibility. Waiting passively for opportunities or for others to change circumstances is abdication, and it leaves you at the mercy of forces beyond your control. To act responsibly is to move deliberately, guided by intention, courage, and discernment. It is to recognize that even small steps, taken consistently, produce magnificent results. It is to understand that procrastination, hesitation, and avoidance are forms of surrender that weaken your command over life. Action, aligned with your highest vision, transforms potential into reality, dreams into experience, and desire into tangible achievement. Responsibility also requires a willingness to face yourself honestly. Many avoid this because it involves confronting weaknesses, mistakes, and unfulfilled potential. Yet there is liberation in acknowledging where you have erred, in taking ownership of choices that led to undesired outcomes, and in committing to conscious change. To blame others for your situation is to remain trapped in a cycle of helplessness. To take responsibility is to see clearly where you stand, to claim your mistakes without shame, and to use every lesson as a stepping stone to mastery. This honesty, coupled with the willingness to act, releases tremendous energy that was previously tied up in excuses, regret, and resentment. It is a spiritual discipline, a sacred practice that strengthens character and deepens your alignment with the intelligence of the universe. Taking responsibility also involves cultivating your own inner guidance rather than relying blindly on others for direction. Society teaches many to look outward for validation, instruction, and approval, but the soul knows the truth. Your inner wisdom, your intuition, and your conscience are sufficient to navigate every circumstance. To live responsibly is to consult these inner resources, to trust your own judgment, and to act with courage even when others may disapprove or misunderstand. Independence of thought is a hallmark of true power. When you honor your own guidance, you break free from the subtle forms of control that others may exert through opinion, criticism, or expectation. Your life becomes a reflection not of the collective will, but of your own highest purpose. It is important to recognize that taking responsibility does not mean controlling every external event or manipulating outcomes to suit your desires. Life is a dynamic interplay of forces, and the universe moves according to laws far greater than human comprehension. Responsibility lies in your response, your alignment, your attitude, your conscious choices. When faced with challenges, you can respond with fear, anger, and frustration, or with clarity, courage, and constructive action. The external world may present difficulties, yet the quality of your life is determined not by what happens to you, but by how fully you embrace your power to respond, to create, and to transform every experience into a lesson of growth and opportunity. The reward of taking responsibility is immeasurable. You become sovereign in your own life, free from the tyranny of circumstance, criticism, or external control. You develop confidence, resilience, and a deep sense of inner peace. You begin to see that abundance, joy, and love are not dependent on conditions, but are natural expressions of a mind and spirit aligned with truth. The universe responds to your authority, providing the right people, the right situations, and the right opportunities at precisely the right time. You no longer feel victimized or at the mercy of forces beyond your control. Instead, you recognize yourself as the co-creator of your destiny, capable of shaping every aspect of your experience through conscious thought, deliberate speech, and purposeful action. Every day offers the opportunity to practice this responsibility. In the morning, set your intention clearly. Throughout the day, monitor your thoughts, speak with purpose, and act with conviction. Reflect in the evening on where you exercised power and where you allowed yourself to drift. Each day becomes a sacred practice, a laboratory in which you perfect the art of conscious living. Over time, this consistent effort yields transformation, not only in circumstances, but in the very character and soul of the individual. Responsibility becomes second nature, freedom becomes permanent, and life itself becomes a joyful expression of divine power. To embrace responsibility is to embrace life itself. It is the acknowledgement that you are the ruler of your inner kingdom, the captain of your destiny, and the master of your own soul. It is the ultimate act of self-love, courage, and spiritual alignment. Every thought, word, and action becomes an instrument through which you create, shape, and manifest a reality that is in harmony with your highest self, recognizing that giving your power to others invites limitation, fear, and control is a truth that many struggle to accept. From the earliest moments of life, people are conditioned to look outward for approval, guidance, and validation. Parents, teachers, leaders, and society at large impose expectations that quietly, subtly, and sometimes harshly encourage obedience over authenticity. It is a natural human inclination to seek comfort in conformity, to find safety in following others rather than trusting oneself. Yet this very habit, though seemingly harmless, is the pathway to limitation. When you surrender your decision-making, your judgment, and your authority to another, you create a dependency that diminishes the strength, clarity, and vitality of your own being. Every compromise of your personal power becomes a restriction, a fenk. Around the infinite potential that resides within you, the giving away of personal power often begins with small concessions, imperceptible yet profound. A word here, a thought there, a deference to someone else's preferences, and slowly the soul begins to shrink. What starts as a gesture of politeness can develop into habitual acquiescence. When you consistently yield your choices to others, you reinforce the idea that their will is more important than your own, that their judgment is more trustworthy than your own wisdom. Over time, this mindset produces fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of disapproval, and a dependence on external authority for direction. You may feel safe for a while, but you are quietly eroding the very foundation of your freedom and strength. Fear is the most insidious consequence of surrendering your power. When others have the ability to dictate your thoughts, actions, or self-perception, you become vulnerable to anxiety and uncertainty. You may find yourself constantly adjusting, second-guessing, and accommodating the opinions of those around you, afraid to speak your truth or act on your desires. Fear takes root because the mind is aware of its loss of control. It whispers that if you stray from the expectations imposed upon you, you may be punished, abandoned, or ridiculed. Yet the truth is that fear is only real when you hand your authority over to someone else. The moment you reclaim your power, fear dissolves, for you understand, and that no person or circumstance has the power to diminish your soul unless you allow it. Control exerted by others is another outcome of yielding your personal power. When you permit someone else to define your limits, dictate your choices, or influence your beliefs, you are allowing them to shape your reality. They do not need to actively manipulate or dominate. Simply by your consent, their authority becomes effective. Relationships, workplaces, and social structures all operate on subtle dynamics of power. When you abdicate your sovereignty, even with good intentions, you participate in a system that curtails your freedom, dampens your creativity, and restricts your growth. The invisible chains of external control are often far more binding than physical constraints, for they infiltrate the mind, cloud judgment, and rob the spirit of its natural authority. The recognition of this danger is the first step toward liberation. Awareness allows you to see where you have been unconsciously surrendering your power, to identify the moments when you allowed others to shape your decisions, opinions, and self-concept. Awareness alone, however, is not enough. It must be followed by conscious action. You must reclaim your authority in every area of life, in thought, in word, and in deed. Every time you make a choice based on your own insight rather than someone else's approval, you reinforce your sovereignty. Every time you speak your truth, even in the face of disagreement, you assert your independence. Every time you refuse to be swayed by fear, criticism, or manipulation, you reclaim a piece of the power that is naturally yours. The mind is the central battleground in this struggle. The human brain is naturally susceptible to suggestion, particularly from those we trust or admire. Parents, mentors, and peers may intend to guide or protect, but when we uncritically accept their thoughts as our own, we create a pathway for limitation. Recognizing this, you must train your mind to discern between the external voices and the inner wisdom that speaks from the soul. Your inner guidance, your intuition, your conscience, these are the instruments of true authority. By listening to them, by acting on their counsel, you fortify yourself against the subtle control of others. The practice of mindful thought allows you to filter suggestions through the lens of your own understanding, retaining only that which aligns with your highest good and releasing what diminishes you. Words, too, are a field of control. When you repeat the opinions, judgments, or criticisms of others as if they were your own, you reinforce the limitations they impose. Gossip, complaint, and criticism are forms of power surrendered, for in speaking them you acknowledge the authority of external minds over your own. Conversely, when you choose to speak consciously, affirming your own power and expressing your authentic truth, you cut the threads of influence that others may attempt to weave around you. The tongue is not merely a vehicle for communication, it is a tool of sovereignty. Every word that expresses confidence, clarity, and independence strengthens your authority, while every word that echoes doubt, fear, or subservience weakens it. Action, of course, is the final test. True reclamation of power requires more than thought and speech. It demands deliberate, consistent, and courageous action. Each decision you make for yourself, rather than out of obligation to another, is an act of liberation. Every refusal to compromise your principles or abandon your path is a demonstration of authority. This action need not be grandiose. Often, the smallest steps toward independence have the greatest effect. To assert your boundaries, to claim your space, to act in alignment with your values, these are the building blocks of a life lived in personal sovereignty. The spiritual dimension of this truth cannot be overlooked. Giving away your power is not merely a practical limitation, it is a misalignment with the divine principle within you. Each soul is imbued with intelligence, creativity, and authority that are expressions of the infinite. When you hand that authority to another, you are neglecting the sacred trust of your own life. To reclaim your power is to honor that divinity, to step into the light of your own potential, and to align with the universal intelligence that supports those who act from self-responsibility and inner guidance. Resistance from others is inevitable. When you begin to assert your power, some will attempt to re-establish control through criticism, manipulation, or subtle pressure. This is not a reason to retreat, it is confirmation that you are reclaiming what is rightfully yours. The test of authority is often met with challenge, and the stronger you become in your own sovereignty, the more resilient you grow. Fear loses its hold, doubt dissipates, and clarity emerges. By consistently standing in your own power, you establish a field of influence that others cannot penetrate, a space in which your creativity, freedom, and joy can flourish without interference. Reclaiming your power is also an act of love for yourself, for life, and for the divine. When you live in alignment with your own authority, you become a beacon for others, demonstrating that life is not meant to be surrendered to outside control. You teach by example that freedom, joy, and abundance are natural outcomes of self-mastery. Every individual who refuses to be ruled by others contributes to a collective elevation of consciousness, a ripple effect that spreads clarity, courage, and authenticity throughout the world. The liberation that comes from reclaiming your power transforms every area of life. Relationships become partnerships of mutual respect rather than arenas of control and manipulation. Career and work are guided by your vision rather than external expectation. Health, happiness, and prosperity are drawn to you, not to rally, because your energy is no longer fragmented or compromised by the influence of others. Your life becomes an expression of your own truth, a testament to the power inherent in every human soul. Freedom, clarity, and joy are the natural consequences of living in this awareness. Fear, limitation, and control lose their grip because they are only effective when you permit them. By consciously choosing to act, speak, and think from your own authority, you establish a foundation of independence that is unshakable. This foundation is not built on rebellion or defiance, but on the quiet, confident understanding that your life belongs to you, that your soul is sovereign, and that your destiny unfolds according to the power you wield from within. Living authentically for yourself aligns you with freedom, joy, and the abundance of the universe. And this alignment is not merely a matter of circumstance. It is a spiritual principle that governs every aspect of life. To live authentically means to honor the voice within, the inner guidance that knows what is right, good, and true for you. It means following the instincts of your heart, the wisdom of your mind, and the quiet promptings of your soul without compromise. Too often, people live in imitation, wearing masks that please others, conforming to expectations, and suppressing their own desires in order to fit into a pattern that was never intended for them. Yet the universe responds not to imitation but to authenticity, not to borrowed dreams, but to the original creations that spring from your own spirit. The moment you choose to live authentically, you step into a current of energy that supports you in every endeavor, surrounds you with opportunities, and opens doors that were previously invisible. Authenticity requires courage, for it often means standing apart from the crowd. Society rewards conformity, and those who dare to be different are sometimes met with criticism, misunderstanding, or even ridicule. Yet these reactions are merely echoes of the fear and limitation within others, not reflections of your own worth or potential. To live for yourself is to recognize that the judgment of others is powerless unless you accept it as truth. Your value, your purpose, and your destiny are determined by the alignment of your actions with your inner guidance, not by the approval of those who observe from the outside. Courage is the companion of authenticity, allowing you to navigate the tension between external pressure and inner truth, to act in ways that may be unconventional, yet wholly aligned with your soul. Joy is a natural consequence of living authentically. When you honor your own desires, needs, and dreams, you no longer carry the burden of pretense, fear, or compromise. Every action becomes infused with vitality, every choice resonates with meaning, and every experience reflects the truth of your being. Happiness does not depend on circumstances or external approval. It flows naturally from alignment with self. The more faithfully you live in accordance with your inner truth, the more effortlessly joy manifests. Life becomes a dance of opportunity, a series of experiences that affirm your connection to the divine intelligence that governs the universe. When you act in alignment with your authentic self, you attract situations and people who resonate with your energy, creating a harmonious flow that sustains abundance in all forms. Abundance, in its many manifestations, is drawn to authenticity because it recognizes the energy of alignment. The universe responds to clarity of purpose, to integrity of thought, word, and action. When you live authentically, you radiate a frequency that signals readiness to receive all that is yours. Prosperity, health, and success are not distant goals to be pursued through struggle, they are natural consequences of being in harmony with your inner self. Every time you act from a place of authenticity, you open channels through which the universe can pour its blessings. This is not magic in the sense of superstition. It is a natural law, a reflection of the divine order that responds to the vibration of truth, courage, and alignment. Living authentically also transforms relationships. When you act from the truth of who you are, you attract others who respect, honor, and support that truth. Relationships no longer become arenas of compromise, or arenas in which you sacrifice your selfhood for approval. Instead, you engage with people who resonate with your energy, who amplify your joy rather than diminish it, and who reflect back to you the value of your authenticity. This alignment allows love, trust, and respect to flourish, creating bonds that are mutually empowering rather than restrictive. Authentic living inspires others to claim their own power, creating a ripple effect of freedom, courage, and self-expression that spreads far beyond your immediate sphere. Living for yourself does not imply selfishness or disregard for others. It is a recognition that you can serve most fully when you are aligned with your own truth. Just as a lamp cannot give light if it is covered or dimmed, so too can your capacity to contribute to the world be diminished when you suppress your own desires, ideas, or creativity. By honoring your own path, you provide the universe with your full energy, allowing it to flow through you to benefit others. Authentic living is therefore both self-affirming and life-affirming, a conduit through which love, creativity, and abundance circulate freely. Challenges will arise, for the world often tests those who choose to live authentically. You may encounter resistance from family, friends, colleagues, or society at large. This resistance is not a reflection of your failure, but a measure of your courage and commitment. Each challenge provides an opportunity to reinforce your sovereignty, to deepen your understanding of your own inner guidance, and to strengthen your alignment with the higher intelligence that governs life. The tests are not meant to deter you. They are invitations to rise above conformity, fear, and limitation. By consistently choosing authenticity in the face of challenge, you cultivate resilience, wisdom, and a magnetic power that draws opportunities, people, and circumstances into your life in perfect alignment with your purpose. The practice of self-honoring, of listening to and trusting your inner guidance, is a daily discipline. It requires awareness, mindfulness, and reflection. In every decision, big or small, ask yourself whether your choice honors your truth, your values, and your desires. Observe your thoughts carefully, for they are the first indicators of alignment or misalignment. Speak consciously, ensuring that your words reflect your authentic intentions. Act deliberately, knowing that every step taken in alignment with your truth reinforces the current of abundance and opportunity that flows to you. Over time, these practices become habits, and your life naturally conforms to the blueprint of your authentic self. There is a subtle, almost magical quality to a life lived in authenticity. People are drawn to you without effort, because your energy is clear, confident, and consistent. Opportunities arise naturally, as if the universe conspires to provide the perfect circumstances for your growth and success. You experience a sense of ease and flow in life that is unattainable when you live in imitation or under the control of others. This flow is a reflection of alignment, the alignment of thought, word, action, and intention with your inner truth. When you live authentically, life itself becomes a co-creator, working in harmony with your desires rather than in opposition to them. Living authentically is ultimately an act of faith. Faith that your inner guidance is wise, that your intuition is trustworthy, and that your life is meant to unfold in harmony with your soul's purpose. Faith that the universe supports those who honor themselves, that abundance is a natural consequence of alignment, and that joy is the birthright of every soul. This faith is not passive, it is active, expressed in thought, word, and action every moment of every day. Each decision made in alignment with your authentic self reinforces this faith, creating a foundation upon which your life can be built in freedom, joy, and abundance.